This is Nani with Las Vegas Associates, and I am joined today with Pam, who is our ISA and OSA, and for those of you that don't know our crazy abbreviations in the real estate world, that is inbound and outbound salesperson on our real estate team. She's joining us today because, well, if you didn't notice, we have weather outside, and so the other two folks who normally join me were not able to be here today. So that brings us, we're shifting gears a little bit, and I'm really excited actually about this topic. We're going to be talking about the weather and how it impacts the real estate market, since we're having some, and maybe debunking some myths and perceptions on the seasonality involved in and around weather and how it affects real estate specifically. And had some great questions as we were going through, so she's going to be drilling me because she gets a lot of the great questions from people when she's calling and talking to prospective clients on our real estate team. So what is kind of some of the things that you hear a lot of people talking about or asking about as far as seasonality and weather go?
Well, Nani, I hear a lot of sellers ask me about if, wintertime is a good time to sell, but the hard thing about that is that wintertime is most of the time in Alaska.
Yeah.
Yep. So, obviously we do have a market going, so I was wondering, what's your take on that? How does winter really impact the market?
It's interesting, and that's one of the things that it is a regular question that's come up year over year. And Les used to actually say it was his favorite time to sell and bring people out to properties. A buyer can see a lot about houses and what the, the efficiency of the house. So it's a really great time to be a buyer in the real estate market. If there's lots of ice damming on the roof, ice, shingles coming down and different things to that effect, you can see that maybe there might be some insulation problems that they could be addressed. The other thing is you're standing by a window, and we got big windows in our office, and you can see the efficiency of the windows, and you feel the cold draft coming in, those types of things. So I think it's a great time to be a buyer in the real estate market as far as that goes. As a seller, a lot of people think, oh, I don't want to sell my house, so I don't, in the wintertime, because there's not very many buyers out there. Or I think we were talking about this just a little bit before we got started, the weather, it doesn't look as good and different things to that effect. And because the inventory is so low in the winter times, you have a higher probability of selling your property, and even for more, because there's less inventory for buyers to choose from. So that, I think, it's a myth of, whether winter is a good time to sell. Personally, I love the winter time. I think it's great. If you're a buyer and you're out there and you're looking, and I'm working with you, you're probably not just a looky-loos, we like to say in the market, right? And all the looky-loos come out in the springtime. They try to decide if this is the time of year to buy or move or whatnot. And so if my house is on the market, I know that the buyers are serious. Nobody wants to get out at 10 below zero and schlep around in the cold, get their kids in and out of the car.
Yeah, definitely.
If they're not a serious buyer. So I think that affects real estate in a very positive way. So what other things are you hearing about? What other concerns do people have about selling in the weather and the conditions and different things?
Well, not only do sellers often have concerns about how the weather impacts the image of their house, but a lot of them simply don't want to sell just because it's around the holidays, and they're concerned about the hassle, and they wonder if it's worth it.
We get that actually a lot as well. There again, since you talk to so many people on a regular basis that are considering a move, that's a great question. Personally, there again, I love taking back the holidays. It's about so many emotions. The smells and the aromas, if you have a fresh tree and just the lights, buying is an emotional transaction in people's lives. Financial for sellers, emotional for buyers.
Yeah.
And so if you can get those emotions going and people can see and picture themselves there during the holidays and different things, I think it helps a lot with that part of it. And it can be inconvenient a little bit for sellers. Yes, we have parties and get-togethers and different things to that effect. And those are all things that we can strategically plan around for the showings and different things. So it's usually not an issue. It's just a matter of, planning. Showing your house is never easy. I mean, you're walking around your house on eggshells. I mean, you got your bed made, your laundry picked up.
Yep.
And I mean, my husband reminds me all the time. I come home after a day of looking at homes and different things like that. I'm like, why is my house not clean? Like, oh, we live there, you know. And he's like, Nani, our house just isn't. It's not on the market. And I have to remind myself of that as a regular, on day in and day out. So it's just not easy being a seller when it comes to showing, and it doesn't get any easier during the holidays than it does any other time of year, because your house needs to look good no matter what when you're putting it on the market.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What other things, what other stuff do you hear from buyers, maybe, or sellers? What other concerns do you hear about the seasonality, selling winter, summer, or anything to that effect?
Well, I guess with summertime, the market tends to pick up since there's more buyers and more people are willing to sell during that time.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think are the biggest advantages, since there is so much competition, of selling in the summertime?
Well, the inventory picks up, so does the buyer pool. Because, there again, it is the seasonality of, buyer's mindset is, oh, well, there's, now's the time to go buy. Les used to say this all the time, and I really think it's true. A lot of women, maybe particular, I hate to categorize us, but they, start to go, well, I was thinking about removing the carpet, I wanted to do this, and maybe we should landscape this year. And as the honey-do list for the summertime starts to build, they start to look at each other and go, should we move? Instead of doing this honey-do list, I mean, we've lived in this house for 10 years and we've always talked about landscaping. Do we really want to landscape, or should we just go buy a house that already has the landscaping done? So I think the honey-do list kind of pushes maybe the couples to consider their options as far as that goes. Do we do the remodel or add addition that we talked about, or add that garage? And so I think people there again start to explore their options, and they may not be 100% I'm buying like they are in the wintertime. Yet they probably will buy it or make a move. So there's a lot of conditions that I think surround people's moves, and to my perception is because of lifestyle. And I think I touched on this a little bit before. Is their house not fitting their needs anymore? Are they ready to downsize because their kids have all moved out? Are they tired of having a house that has projects? A lot of people think, I'm a DIYer, I'm going to do it myself. And then they realize, I am not a DIYer. I've lived here for 7 years and I've not done anything. Let's just sell it and buy one that is done. So usually it is a lifestyle decision for buyers. And sellers, I find, typically sell also for lifestyle because they are being transferred. Military obviously is huge up here. Or they want a bigger house because their kids are getting bigger. So very similar reasons, but the financial play really does come in on both ends, just different perspectives. So it's interesting after doing this for so long.
Yeah, I'm sure you've gotten a lot of insight, and I appreciate you taking the time to tell me about, some of those myths, but then also the perks of buying or selling both in summertime and wintertime.
Yeah, and we're approaching springtime, which is really exciting. Everybody kind of crawls out of their holes, and it's getting lighter out, and people get that spring fever itch and different things like that. So, I mean, really, some of the great things about right now, the real estate market is interest rates are still at a great rate. The Fed's probably, from all of my research and reading, be raising the rates 1/4 point over time consistently till it hits a point where they think that it will stabilize the market. So this summer really could be a great buying and selling season in the spring. Inventory is slowly picking up. It hasn't gone to full spring mode yet, especially I think this will probably, it'll probably put the brakes on some people, like, oh, no rush, like you said, people, they want to have their yard look perfect. Mm-hmm. Buyers don't always care about that. And if you don't have a perfect yard, you might want to sell now so maybe the buyers don't see how perfect your yard is. Because really they buy because the house fits what they're looking for. So focus on that, I think, is more important. But I'm excited about the new season. There's some great things that are happening, and overall, I think our economy is not going up or down, it's flat. So if you're gonna make a move, it's kind of nice to make a move when you know what's happening as far as that goes. But we really missed our usual guests or co-hosts, and hopefully they'll be here with us next week. And if that is the case, we will be going over multifamilies and how to buy it right, loan programs and options for leasing and renting those out in the future. And please do like our Facebook page, share it, and I'm glad that Amity was willing to join me today on our show. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. We'll see you guys soon.